All right. Today, we will talk about conditional statements in Java. Before we do that, there are comparison operators that are used in conditional statements. Many of these you may be familiar with just from general math, so I'm not going to spend too much time on these. The ones that you should be aware of are the AND operators. So if you have an AND operator, it returns true if both conditions are true. And if you have a OR operator, which is the double pipes, it returns true if at least one of the conditions are true. And then, of course, there are different kinds of conditional statements. You have your if statement, your if else, and then if else if. Then you have nested if statements. So if statements within if statements. You have your switch statements and your ternary operators. And there are special use cases for each of these, which we will go over shortly. All right, so now we're back in our IDE, and I've made a few notes just for everybody's convenience. These are the comparison operators, which I've just talked about. And then here are some sample cases. So some sample problems that we will code through. So the first question is to write a program that checks if a user's age is greater than or equal to 18 and prints eligible to vote only if the condition is true. So, so let's go ahead and do this. So first of all, let's just declare a variable, so we're checking the age. So age is going to be an int. We'll just give it an initial value of like, let's see, 21. And then we're going to write an if statement. So it's going to be if such and such, then some curly braces. So between the parentheses, you have your condition. So greater than or equal to 18. So if age greater than or equal to 18, prints eligible to vote. So eligible to vote if you're greater than 18. Okay, let's run this. So age is greater, so 21 is greater than 18, so eligible to vote. So let's say they're only 11 years old. Then let's run this. So nothing printed to the console because they're not eligible to vote. But it's an if statement. So only if the age is greater than 18 will it print to the console. So that's good, but there's an issue. What if you want to do something else if the age is less than 18? So we have another use case below. So this is an if else. If this condition, do one thing, else do something else. So write a program that checks if number is greater than 0. Print positive number if true, otherwise print negative number. So let's set a random int. So we'll set this num equal to 1 for now. Then let's write an if statement. If, so we'll write our if else. So if num greater than 0, we're going to print positive number. So we'll print positive number, else print 0 or negative number. Zero or negative number. So let's run this. So this is 1. So We expect this to print a positive number, which it does. Let's make this -1. Let's see what happens. 0, a negative number. Let's just set this to 0. 0, negative number. Okay, so that works pretty well. So that's your if-else statement. So if-else is a good use case if you want to perform different tasks, run different code based on a condition. Okay, so we have an if-else if statement. So write a program that accepts a test score and prints excellent if the score is greater than or equal to 90, good if the score is greater than or equal to 70, needs improvement otherwise. So we'll just do our if. Actually, let's set a variable first. So int score equals 100. So we'll start off high. If else if else. Okay, so if the score is greater than or equal to 100 to 90, so greater than or equal to 90, we're going to print. We're going to print excellent. Otherwise, if the score is greater than or equal to 70, so if it's not greater than 90, but it's greater than or equal to 70, then we're going to print good. Else, else needs improvement. So let's test these conditions. So we're going to test if the score is greater than 90, it's excellent. But let's say they didn't do so well. So let's say they got an 80. Good. So good, but not excellent. And let's say they got a 60. Let's say the score is 60. Needs improvement. So our conditions, they all worked. Okay, so a ternary statement. So where would you use a ternary in place of an if else? If you want to write cleaner code, it looks cleaner. If you want to, if you want to assign a variable based on a condition, these are all good use cases to use a ternary. So using a ternary, write a Java expression that checks if the temperature is greater than 30 and assigns either hot or normal to a variable called weather status. So, okay, so we have a variable called weather status and 30. That must be in Celsius. So, so it's a string. Okay. And it's called weather status equals, and then you have your condition greater than 30. So that means there has to be a temperature variable. Let's just let's just say it's 31 for now. So now we have a temp. So now if the temp greater than 30, then question mark. So temp greater than 30, question mark assigns it either hot So if the condition is true, it assigns the first value. Otherwise, it assigns the second value. All right. And then let's print this out. So we should be able to print this out. All right. So if the temperature is greater than 30, what's the weather status? Okay, so it's hot. So let's say the temperature is a little chilly, like 25 degrees. Let's see what we get. Okay, so it's normal. So that's how a ternary operator works. So we have a variable and we can assign a value based on a condition. And this is your syntax. So you have your condition, question mark, and then value if condition is met, colon, value if condition is not met. Now the last is a switch statement. So switch statements are good for discrete values. So we're going to write a Java program that takes an integer from 1 to 5 representing weekday and prints the day name. If the number is outside this range, print invalid day. So, so we'll set a variable at weekday. Let's say 1. Okay. And then it's going to be switch. So it's a switch case. So switch, then the variable is weekday. Then it's going to be case 1. We're going to print Monday. Case 2. Let's just write these cases out first. Case 3. Case 4. Case 5. Then there's going to be a default. And then let's indent all this. Okay. Okay. So now we have our switch statement. So let's run it and see what we get. Okay. So notice what happened here. So even though the weekday is 1, it went down the ladder, so to speak, went went down each case and executed each case, even though we only wanted to execute for a weekday of 1. Why is this? Because you need a break statement. If you don't have a break statement after each case, then you're going to encounter this behavior. So let's add our breaks. Let's add our breaks and see what we get. So we'll save this and let's print. Okay, so now we get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Kind of reminds me of a song. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But that's not why we're here. But the point is that by adding these break statements, you you can get it to stop and execute based on a certain condition. So let's say the day is outside of the range, so it's a Sunday or something like that. Invalid day. Okay, so since we have a little time on our hands, I'm going to refactor this switch statement so that for days 1 through 5, it will print weekday, but it will print weekday. But if it's a day 6 or 7, it'll print weekend. And other than that, it'll print invalid day. So let's just refactor this. So we'll remove the breaks. And actually, we can remove once some of the programmers may wonder why do I use a mouse and drag and click? Why not use these keyboard shortcuts? Because I kind of find for me, it's not really that much faster. So we can stop here and then we'll just print it's a weekday. And then let's add a few conditions. So if it's 6 or 7, so let's print it's a weekend. Okay. Otherwise, we'll print default. So let's see what happens. Okay. It printed invalid day, and that's because I forgot my break statement. So you really have to remember those break statements. Okay. So weekday 7, it's a weekend. So let's say it's a weekday. So 2, it's a weekday. Okay. Now let's give it a number 10. Okay, invalid day. So as you can see here, the way the switch statement executes is it goes down the list. If the value is any of these values, 1 through 5, it'll print it's a weekday. If it doesn't find a value within this list, it keeps going down the list. If the value's in here, 6 or 7, it prints it's a weekend. If it goes down the list and still doesn't find the value it's looking for, it prints invalid day. Now, the key thing is it has to be in order. It has to be in order. It has to be in a specific order. But anyway, I think we're done with conditionals. It's been a pleasure. I'm out. See ya.